You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken Tech for your ears.
Brands are currently spending, literally billions of dollars right now to put this artificial intelligence face on their companies. But there's this really brutal reality hiding in the data.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge reality check.
Right. 63% of consumers say that if they know an ad is made by AI, they are actively less likely to buy from that brand.
Which is wild when you think about the sheer amount of money being poured into this.
It really is. Welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today, we are looking at this massive multi-billion-dollar collision between, artificial perfection and our really desperate human craving for authenticity.
We've got a super fascinating stack of sources for you today.
We do. Just a ton of recent cutting-edge tech, startup, and marketing newsletters. And our mission today is to decode this current battleground for human attention, right?
Yeah.
We need to figure out how this tension is completely rewiring how we work, how we shop, and how we actually interact online.
It's changing everything.
Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer volume of changes happening simultaneously right now is just staggering. And we want to give you the shortcut to understanding the bigger picture without just drowning in information overload.
The paradox we are looking at today is completely unprecedented. On one side of the equation, you have the tech giants, and they are doubling, actually tripling down on AI generation as the ultimate marketing solution.
Yeah.
The prevailing logic in Silicon Valley right now is that, we can basically automate human connection.
Which sounds completely dystopian when you say it out loud like that.
It does. It really does.
But, you can see the appeal for a brand's bottom line. Just look at what TikTok is doing with this new tool. It's called the Symphony Agent.
Oh, wait.
It is wild. You don't need a creative agency anymore at all. You just type a simple text prompt, and the AI looks at currently trending content, generates a script, builds the entire video with virtual actors, and just spits out a ready-to-launch campaign.
It completely removes all the friction from production. And it's not just video either. Like, Getty Images just signed this massive multi-year deal to pump its entirely licensed high-resolution visual library directly into OpenAI's ChatGPT.
Wait, all of it?
Yeah, all of it. The goal is to make visual responses a flawlessly commercial. Even copywriters are being handed these tools, like copy templates. They offer hundreds of pre-built Claude skills and prompts. The adoption curve is just completely vertical.
But that brings us right back to that glaring contradiction we started with, right?
Yeah.
Consumers hate it.
They really do. What's fascinating here is the data from a recent Harris poll that was included in our sources. 65% of consumers explicitly state they wish brands would just stop mentioning AI in their marketing.
Yeah, 65%.
Yeah. The moment the curtain is pulled back and the consumer sees the algorithm instead of a human, trust just evaporates.
That makes perfect sense, actually, if we look at the concept from our sources about creative direction over taste.
Right, that was a great point.
Yeah, because for the last decade, having good taste, like knowing how to design a beautiful minimalist ad or write a perfectly structured email, that was a premium skill. It took a lot of time and money.
Absolutely.
But now, AI just gives everyone on the planet access to flawless execution for $20 a month.
Right, and when everyone has access to a tool that can execute perfectly, perfection just becomes the baseline. It's a commodity. And when taste is commoditized, the internet essentially turns into this giant, perfectly executed sea of beige.
Exactly the opposite of what marketing is supposed to do. If everyone suddenly has a master chef cooking their weeknight dinners, a perfectly seared steak just isn't special anymore.
Exactly.
Our sources point out that in an AI-saturated market, originality, having this distinct, weird, inherently human point of view, that's the only thing that actually stands out.
Yes.
These brands like Liquid Death or Bandit running apparel as examples, these brands don't just refine familiar aesthetics. They create entirely new, slightly chaotic ones that a predictive algorithm would just never suggest in a million years.
And that insight leads to a really crucial synthesis regarding how AI should actually be deployed. There's this fantastic piece in the sources detailing the AI flywheel for e-commerce.
Oh, I love that part.
The ultimate takeaway there is that AI should never be your front-facing gimmick. You shouldn't be shouting about your new AI chatbot to the customer. It needs to be the invisible infrastructure.
So it's essentially like the kitchen staff, not the waiter.
Right.
The customer shouldn't even know it's there. They should just notice, hey, my food arrived faster and it tastes way better.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
The true value of AI in e-commerce is connecting these isolated silos behind the scenes. It links marketing, merchandising, inventory, and pricing all together.
Creating that flywheel effect.
Exactly. It creates a flywheel where better AI personalization in the background leads to much clearer demand signals from the customer. Then those stronger demand signals feed back into the system, which helps you make smarter inventory purchases and dynamic pricing decisions.
You're making the business fundamentally smarter.
Yes, but without making the actual customer interaction feel robotic.
But if AI is relegated to the back room to handle all that inventory and pricing stuff, brands still need a face for the front room.
You do.
And if consumers are fundamentally repelled by artificial robotic brand faces, companies have to find a totally new way to project authenticity. And our sources show this is causing a massive shift in power away from corporate marketing departments and directly toward empowering real humans.
We are seeing major brands deliberately loosen their corporate grip just to buy back consumer trust. Starbucks is a really prime example of this right now.
What are they doing exactly?
Well, they're piloting a program right now on TikTok where they literally pay their own baristas to create content.
That is so smart.
Right. They bypass the ad agency entirely. They give the employees direct creative briefs. They share the ad revenue, and they just integrate them into TikTok's creator network.
Because a corporate ad, shot at a 4K camera with a lighting crew, it subconsciously signals to your brain, oh, I am being sold to. But a barista with a slightly shaky iPhone camera making a latte, that feels like a genuine update from a friend.
And the psychology bears that out in the numbers, too. 61% of Gen Z and 40% of consumers overall report that they frequently learn about new products specifically from employee-generated content.
I mean, Starbucks probably already knew this.
Oh, totally. They knew it because their employees were already posting organically at 3 times the rate of employees at rival chains. They just, finally decided to lean into it.
Lipton did something very similar, but on a global scale. According to the sources, they partnered with Billion Dollar Boy to utilize local creators as their social hubs.
Right, in places like France and Turkey.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia. Instead of hiring a massive centralized corporate team to try and guess what works in Riyadh versus Paris, they just hand the keys to local creators. It's really the difference between reading a glossy, out-of-touch corporate brochure and hiring a local tour guide who actually speaks the cultural language and understands local platform behaviors.
Business Insider actually noted a broader business insight here, too. Brands that stop trying to micromanage creator messaging see significantly better performance.
It takes a lot of trust, though.
It requires a massive leap of faith to give up that control, but that is the cost of authenticity today. And we are even seeing this dynamic play out in the B2B space, like with LinkedIn's new collaborative posts.
Oh, yeah.
It allows a corporate brand page and an individual creator to basically co-publish a single post.
That seems incredibly smart. The credibility just flows both ways. The creator brings a highly engaged audience that actually trusts them as a human being, and the brand brings a professional institutional cosign that carries real industry weight.
It is a total mutual transfer of authenticity. But, of course, whenever a strategy becomes this lucrative, someone is going to try to game the system.
Oh, always.
You cannot simply buy authenticity and just slap a fake human face on it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because this brings us to the cautionary tale of Polymarket.
Yeah, this is a wild story.
They are a massive betting platform, and they decided to take a shortcut. They ran 118 undisclosed paid influencer ads. But they didn't just pay for shoutouts. They actively instructed the influencers to show fabricated wins on the platform and explicitly told them not to disclose the financial arrangement to their audience.
So just faking the real human element entirely.
Exactly, and it backfired spectacularly. It led straight to potential fines from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Regulators are watching, but more importantly, consumers are incredibly savvy. They can smell manufactured authenticity from a mile away.
And, this reliance on genuine human connection reveals a much darker, kind of hidden crisis within the industry.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and organic TikToks.
No, because managing all of these real humans, coordinating the employee creators, vetting the local hubs, negotiating the collaborative posts, it requires a staggering amount of invisible labor. The constant juggling act of manufacturing and maintaining authenticity at scale is actually breaking the human workers running the campaigns.
The statistics on this are just heavy. One of the sources points out that over 40% of social media marketers plan to leave their jobs within the next 2 years.
40%?
Yeah, because the role has mutated into this unfair, monstrous hybrid. You aren't just a strategist anymore. You're expected to be a graphic designer, a customer service representative, and a real-time crisis PR manager, all bundled into one single salary.
It's completely unsustainable.
But let me challenge that premise for a second. We just spent the first segment talking about this absolute explosion of AI tools, with Claude templates, automated scheduling apps, instant video generators. Shouldn't the day-to-day job of a marketer be getting significantly easier?
You would logically think so, right? But if we connect this to the bigger picture of workplace psychology, AI is actually springing a trap.
A trap.
Yeah. Yes, the tools drastically reduce the manual, physical workload. You can generate and schedule a month of posts in an hour. But the tools do not eliminate the always-on expectation. Because the technology allows you to do more, management simply expects you to monitor more.
So because the machine never sleeps, the human isn't allowed to either.
Precisely. And there is a unique psychological toll embedded in modern marketing. The applications these workers use for their jobs, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, they're the exact same applications they use for personal leisure.
Oh, that's rough.
So when a marketer is doom scrolling on a Sunday evening just trying to decompress, they are subconsciously doing competitive trend research. They are comparing their brand's output to what they see on their feed. The boundary between work and life just dissolves completely, which makes true psychological disconnection impossible.
That is exhausting just to think about. And this human burnout is directly tied to the hard financial realities we're seeing in the budget data, right?
Exactly. The financial structures are shifting in response to this exhaustion. MarTech spending, which is the budget allocated for marketing technology, has hit a 5-year low. It dropped from 27% to 19% of total marketing budgets.
Wow.
Meanwhile, paid media budgets have hit a high of 31%.
I mean, why is that happening? Are brands just giving up on organic content?
Basically, yes. Brands are throwing money at paid ads because maintaining that organic, authentic engagement we talked about is just too exhausting and resource intensive.
But is it working?
No, the paid strategy is failing too. Only 46% of CMOs hit their campaign goals this year. That is a sharp decline from 58% last year.
So they are adopting all this tech, but it's not actually fixing the core workflow issues. The sources mentioned this new trend called vibe coding. What exactly does that look like in practice?
Vibe coding is fascinating. It refers to marketers with zero traditional coding experience using AI models to write behind-the-scenes automations.
Okay.
For example, using natural language to ask an AI to write a Python script that automatically pulls Shopify sales data and dumps it into a specific Slack channel every single morning. 41% of teams have this kind of AI generation embedded in their workflows to automate boring tasks.
That sounds incredibly useful, though. Why is that a problem?
It is useful until you look at the blind spot. 79% of these teams are completely ignoring the necessary training on how these models actually work. Right. They are adopting incredibly powerful tools, but leaving a massive skill gap in their teams, which inevitably leads to tool overload and massive system failures when the AI hallucinates or just breaks.
To be fair, some software companies are trying to solve this specific friction. The sources mention a tool called Clap, which turns messy sales calls into structured CRM updates. And the brilliance of it is that it does this in the background without an awkward, highly visible AI bot joining your Zoom call and announcing it's recording everyone. It's seamless. But, even with smarter tools like that, the structural stress on the human worker remains.
Yeah, the foundation is still cracking. Adding a nicer roof doesn't fix a crumbling foundation.
So if the foundation is cracking, the marketing staff is burning out, and standard ad performance is dropping, how do you actually fix the system? How do brands genuinely engage people again without just shoveling more money into the paid advertising furnace?
The sources suggest it requires a fundamental rewiring of both internal team dynamics and external consumer engagement.
Okay, let's start with the internal fix, because obviously you can't produce great work with a broken team.
Exactly. To stop the burnout, you have to completely change how teams collaborate. The sources highlight a methodology called liberating structures to replace traditional meetings.
Because we all know the traditional meeting, right? The boss or the loudest extrovert in the room talks for 45 minutes, everyone else just nods to survive, and zero actual decisions get made.
Yes, liberating structures intentionally destroys that open-ended format. They use very specific guided interactions instead. For instance, one technique is called 25-10 crowdsourcing.
How does that actually work?
Well, instead of asking the room for ideas and letting the extroverts dominate, everyone writes their single boldest idea on an index card.
Okay.
Then, everyone stands up and blindly passes the cards around the room. When the music stops, you read the card in your hand and score it from 1 to 5. You do this 5 times, so the maximum score any idea can get is 25.
Oh, that is brilliant. You are completely stripping away the bias of who suggested the idea. The intern's idea is judged on the exact same merit as the vice president's idea.
It guarantees the quietest voices in the room are heard, it surfaces the best ideas mathematically, and it literally does it in about 10 minutes. It clarifies purpose and eliminates all the exhausting noise of corporate politics.
I love that. So you fix the internal house first. But a healthy team still needs a strategy that actually works on the consumer. How are brands breaking through the external noise?
This is where we look at some recent research from Snapchat. They found that meaningful engagement absolutely destroys raw, repetitive reach. The key mechanism here is format diversity.
What does that mean?
If you just hammer a user with the exact same 15-second video ad over and over, their brain recognizes the pattern and actively tunes it out.
It just becomes wallpaper.
Right. But Snapchat found that if you force the brain to switch context, say showing a video ad, followed later by an interactive AR lens the user plays with, followed by a sponsored snap from a creator, unaided brand recall jumped massively.
Really?
Yeah, from 16% to 36%. And that was at the exact same frequency of exposure. You aren't yelling louder, you are changing the texture of your voice.
And we see platforms adapting to this desire for deeper, more immersive engagement everywhere. Like Instagram is actively pushing into the living room now, testing longer episodic content formats specifically designed for Samsung smart TVs. People are clearly exhausted by quick, noisy hits.
They want structured, intentional content.
Speaking of structure, there is a psychological tactic mentioned in the sources that I found absolutely fascinating. Gamification.
Oh, yes.
The data shows that if you take a standard 10% discount and turn it into a game on your website, like a digital spinning wheel or a dice roll, visitors are 67% more likely to click it and 24% more interested in actually buying.
It is a really powerful hack for conversion, but the sources include a very strict boundary for this tactic. It heavily relies on the nature of the product. Gamification only works for what consumer psychologists call hedonic products.
Things you buy purely for pleasure, like snacks, fast fashion, maybe a video game.
Yes. When a consumer is buying potato chips, they are already in a playful, impulsive mindset, so a spinning wheel aligns perfectly with their mood. But if you try to gamify a functional product, like a life insurance policy or a new Wi-Fi router or a lawnmower, it actively hurts your conversion rate.
Makes sense.
When shoppers are buying functional, necessary items, they expect logic, intention, and reliability. If their discount is left to a random dice roll, it violates their expectation of a serious transaction.
Context dictates the entire strategy. And that nuance applies directly to how we define the marketing funnel itself. One of our sources explicitly challenges this popular modern mantra that reach is just a vanity metric. Reach is only a vanity metric if your content is disconnected from a conversion mechanism.
Right. If you get 2 million views on a funny video of a dog in the office, but you sell enterprise supply chain software, that reach is utterly useless. It's just noise.
Exactly. But if you structure a full funnel post, reach directly drives the pipeline. The sources mention a report from Vidyard, which analyzed thousands of video scripts for revenue teams.
Oh, yeah.
They found 7 proven scripts that yield 5 times more replies on cold outreach. And it works because of the structure. You use a story-driven hook to grab the initial awareness, you provide a dense, valuable insight in the middle to establish your authority, and you end with a hyper-specific, direct call to action.
Yeah.
When you structure it that way, reach isn't vanity at all. It's the top of a very effective funnel.
But all of this strategic work, this raises an important question about measurement. How do we accurately measure success when the automated platforms are kind of working against us? One of the experts in our sources literally calls standard industry averages trash.
Trash. Why are they trash?
Because if you blindly follow automated metrics, you are being lied to by the machine. Let's look at Google Performance Max or PMax campaigns. By its very nature, the AI driving PMax is lazy. AI optimization algorithms are fundamentally designed to find the path of least resistance to achieve their stated goal.
Right.
If the goal is get a sale, the algorithm isn't going to do the hard work of convincing a stranger to buy your product.
So PMax is essentially a commissioned sales rep looking to hit their quota as easily as possible.
Yeah.
If you don't build walls around your existing customers, that rep is just going to knock on your own mother's door, sell her the product she was already going to buy anyway, claim the commission, and tell you they did a great job finding a quote-unquote new sale.
That is the perfect analogy. So the tactic outlined in the sources is to force the algorithm to do its actual job by stacking exclusions.
How do you do that?
You go into the settings and you literally build a wall. You put in a brand keyword exclusion, an audience exclusion for people who recently visited your site, an exclusion for your current email subscribers, and a customer match exclusion for past purchasers. You completely block the AI from targeting anyone who already knows you.
So you force that lazy sales rep to actually walk down the street and knock on strangers' doors. But the sources note that when you do this, your reported return on ad spend, your ROAS, is going to drop significantly.
It will plummet.
Yeah.
But it drops because you are finally measuring reality. You are measuring the actual difficult cost of acquiring a true net new customer, rather than falsely taking credit for someone who already had your item sitting in their shopping cart.
So what does this all mean? If we step back and look at this entire stack of sources, the ultimate takeaway seems to be that the era of blindly handing the keys over to the machine is over. AI is incredibly powerful. It is becoming the invisible engine driving everything from e-commerce inventory flywheels to algorithmic ad bidding.
But it is just the engine.
Right. The humans have to be the steering wheel. The brands that are going to win the future are the ones utilizing genuine human creativity. They're the ones elevating real employee voices, prioritizing distinct, weird, creative direction, and designing structured, meaningful interactions over raw, automated noise.
I completely agree. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thread to pull, drawn from two very specific, almost buried details in our sources today.
Okay, what are they?
The first is a mention of an upcoming webinar with SEO expert Kevin Indig. The topic isn't about ranking in Google search. It's about how to get your products recommended by AI search engines like ChatGPT or Perplexity.
Interesting.
And the second detail is a quiet update from Amazon. They just launched something called Alexa plus agentic ads on their Echo Show devices.
Wait, what exactly is an agentic ad?
It is an advertisement that acts as an autonomous agent. It means a user can be looking at their screen, see an ad for Papa John's or Ticketmaster, and simply use a voice command to buy the pizza or secure the concert tickets entirely within the ad itself.
Wow.
The transaction happens instantly. The user never clicks a link. They never go to a browser.
They never visit the brand's website.
Exactly. So I want you to ponder this. If AI search engines start making the final, definitive product recommendations for us, and agentic ads let users buy those products instantly without ever leaving the device's interface, what happens to the entire concept of a brand website?
Oh, wow.
Will your beautifully designed, highly optimized website even matter in 5 years? Or will your entire business exist only as a raw data feed fed invisibly into someone else's AI ecosystem?
Now, that is a staggering thought. We started today looking at the friction between AI tools and human authenticity, and we ended up staring at a future where the traditional internet storefront might cease to exist entirely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope this gave you the shortcut to understanding the mechanics behind all these headlines, and we highly encourage you to keep exploring these ideas on your own. Until next time.
Spoken Tech for your ears.